Hey, you guys, it's Wednesday. So that means it's time for a random story I found on my phone, except this time it's a random story I found in this realm. Ha 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 ha. Honor of my new release. So, this one's not really random at all, honestly. This is a story in my head, and this is the story of how that story became this book. I am not prepared, so give me 1 second because I meant to have my iPad open to show you this picture. Please be there, picture. Come on, Face ID. Sorry. My iPad. Here we go. Check out this gorgeous cover for Realm of Dreams and Shadows. It's book one of my Dreambound series. I love writing this series. I'm having so much fun with it. So much fun. So, let me tell you a little bit about this. That book released yesterday, so be sure and grab your copy. The story's great, and the cover's just so pretty. You gotta have it. Anyway, enough with the sales pitch. So people always ask writers where books come from. And I wish I had this like great intellectual answer about the subconscious and your psyche and inner wounds as a child and you're working out your issues, all of which is kind of true, at least for me, but I don't have that kind of an answer. I just can tell you sort of kind of where a story came from with regard to any of my books. A lot of times I haven't got a clue. I mean, with Demon Hunting Soccer Mom, I just remember one day I thought, I had a baby and I was juggling all this stuff, and I thought, I'm juggling all these metaphors for life, with the books and the being a lawyer stuff. And then it was like, wow, what if they're like demons? What if it was someone hunting demons and she was born? It's kind of the same thing with Cora here. But it really started with the monsters. So years ago, we had a condo in Panama City Beach, Florida, and I loved going to that beach. It's a pretty beach. If you have a chance to go, definitely do. And one morning, I was out walking the beach, and I saw this enormous dead fish. Not the kind of grossness you usually see on that. There's not usually, that beach is usually really pristine, so it stood out at me, and I was just like, ew. And it was, it's just wrong in that environment. It just didn't fit there, and it was kind of icky and whatever. Anyway, you know, squeamish me did a big circle around the dead fish. Writer me got that stuck in my brain, So apparently my brain was sitting there going, we can work with this. Um, and I actually had this weird dream that night. I don't remember a lot of it. I'm not one of those people who remembers their dreams in detail, sadly. But I remember there were these creatures in it. I call them lava babies because they kind of looked like something that was like made out of lava. They were kind of made out of sand, and then the sand sort of turned into lava. I don't really know how to describe them, but they were these strange little creatures that were running around in the sand while bigger monsters hunted them, and it's all happening in my mind, and it's a dream, and I'm like hoping nobody notices and decides to eat me. And I woke up, you know, like part scared and part intrigued because it was a really scary dream. I'm not doing it justice. But it was like I was in this other world, and there was monsters and there was things, and I didn't understand what was going on. But I also thought, wow, that's a thing. What would I do if I was really in that situation? Um, and then somehow in the midst of all of that, Cora was born. Um, she's started out, she's just a normal college student trying to survive classes in life. And she has no business getting mixed up with monsters that crawl out of dreams, or at least she thinks she doesn't. Because that's exactly what happens to her. So apparently, there's that whole fate thing going on. Anyway, the scene that was the first one that popped into my head, it's in the book in a certain way, was basically she's there, she's being attacked from all sides, and there is this hunter, this sexy hot guy with golden eyes, and he rides a dragon and he rescues her from this horrible beachfront terror. And that was that was the kernel of this entire trilogy. All of the political infighting and the white shoes component. We'll get there in a second. All of that stuff came later, but I was started running through all of this. I'm like, okay, she's got these monsters. What if the danger's like where you least expect it? And that is kind of how the white shoes component came in, because Adric is, he's the Nightmare King, which sounds dangerous, and it is dangerous. And Cora is totally attracted to him as much as she's attracted to the hot hunter who rode in on his dragon to save her. So she's caught between this sexy and stalwart hunter and the enigmatic Nightmare King. And, I guess to a certain extent, being caught between those two guys isn't the worst place you could be. But it definitely presents some interesting challenges for Cora. And, all of that was kind of in my head as mush. And so writing the book, I've done the first two books so far, and really, helped me figure out what the story is. And it's complex, and it's fun, and it's sexy, and it's got action. And, that's the thing that's so fascinating about story writing. I mean, because this huge world that I've built, that's probably the biggest world that I've created in any of my stories, and certainly the only one that has a world that's not completely grounded on Earth. We're on Earth, and then we're also in the realms. The realm of the real is essentially what we're in right now. Anyway, I digress. My point is, this is probably the biggest one that I've done, but I'm just so fascinated that this world was living in my head, that these characters were like just pounding in there for a long time. I've lived with this book a lot longer than I've lived with most books, and I really love it. I love the characters. I love hanging out with them. I love the fact that there's these two hot guys, and Cora, has to choose, or does she? Anyway, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I hope that you guys check it out, because I think it turned out to be one hell of a book. So if you like, ordinary women dropped into impossible worlds, people and creatures that may not be what they seem, dangerous men on the opposite side of a war that, affects all creation, you might want to check out the book. One guy makes her feel safe, and the other kind of makes her question whether she wants to be safe. Turns out the real danger isn't falling asleep. It's what and who you wake up wanting. Mwah. All right, that was my random story with a not so random story. Happy recent release date to me. I hope you guys check out the book and enjoy it. Ciao.